Hi everyone, Melancholic Foreigner here. I just found out that one of my favorite Gore sites shut down. And no, I'm not talking about goal-oriented requirement engineering, or the Gothenburg-Oslo Rail Express, or Gore-Tex, and I'm not talking about the kind of snuff Sweden is famous for, where you stick a raw piece of tobacco under your lip and act like it's better than smoking. No, 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 no. I am a simple man, but also a classy man. So I'm simply referring to footage of murder, war crime, and various kinds of accidents that will leave a person with the insides of their body on the outside of the environment, usually the pavement. And now I know what some of you are thinking watching this video. Allow me to stylishly shock everyone's expectations, as usual, and announce that this is a mental health awareness video. See, you didn't think this was about community outreach, did you? And I would like to illustrate this, among other things, through some fan mail that the site owner received. Dear Mark, at nearly 30 years old, it seems a little crazy to be alive. There were so many times when I thought about suicide. I swore I wouldn't let myself live past 25 if my life didn't improve. It didn't, but I kept going anyway. Sometimes when I was feeling particularly worthless and hopeless, I would visit Best Gore. People don't talk about pain and suffering truthfully. Sometimes all our society seems to want to do is hide, ignore, and lie. Through the content on this site, I was able to see how good I actually had it. I had a family, talents, and smarts, all my limbs intact, and my guts on the inside of my body. And I was letting it go to waste. I even witnessed a recording of someone committing suicide on your site. I can't fully describe how effective that scene has been in preventing my own suicide throughout my years. He looked so emotionless and somehow so alone. He clearly was undergoing severe psychological distress, but he was helpless to realize it. It was senseless, and it left such a void. Before seeing it, I had imagined suicide to be some grand gesture. I refused to think of it as what it really was. But Best Gore allowed me to see it for the empty, meaningless, and lonely act that it is. I wouldn't be alive without Best Gore. End of quote. I find it interesting how this millennial had their desensitization cured by being shocked into reality. The part about how society likes to hide the ugly is true in many regards, and I think that's worth pondering about more. Believe it or not, there's actually quite a few testimonies that are like this, so it's hardly a one-off. Another one reads, Dear Mark, Best Gore has been a big part of my childhood. I would spend hours obsessively seeking a thrill. I didn't realize the lesson I would learn. I've attempted suicide multiple times throughout my life, too many times. Whenever I felt suicidal, I would always end up back on Best Gore. Your site made me see the true pain and the shock behind suicides, the pain they cause. A painless death is never a clean one. You've stopped me many times from making a selfish choice. Best Gore made me think twice about ending up dead on a sidewalk. My dad died back in 2016, and it was such a struggle not to follow him to the grave. It's 6 a.m. in Canada, and I am studying rather than thinking of a needlessly cruel suicide. Thus, not only have you prevented me from a bloody act, but you have also shielded my friends and family from unbearable pain. Thank you, Mark. I am sad to see Best Gore go, but I am excited for your future prospects. I feel like this is an underlooked aspect of shock sites that rarely gets addressed. Sites like eFucked, Crazy Shit, Best Gore, and LiveLeak, which sadly also was shut down or remade into something else. You see, it's easy for people to get hooked up on the blood and guts and intestines spilling out over the pavement, but it's not as obvious what seeing that level of humanity might actually do to a person, namely appreciate the fragility of life far more. Also, free biology classes. What's sad is that the admin of this site had to shut it down over some weird Canadian obscenity law that kind of reminds me of what happened to Socrates, only less poison. Mark Marek was basically arrested and convicted for corrupting public morals, which is so weird for a country that legalized weed. And now, I'm not complaining about that, believe you me, but I'm saying it's surprisingly unchill. Marek was convicted to a 6-month conditional sentence, and 3 months will be spent under house arrest. Specifically, his trial was about Gore hosting a video of aspiring serial killer Luca Magnotta committing a heinous crime. And this video played a key role in convicting him, identifying both victim and perpetrator, and ultimately saving more people from a similar fate. It's strange to think that Marek would be punished over this when he was actually doing society a favor. In a 2013 interview, Marek defended the value of making gory material like this publicly available, and he said, quote, "For example, you can take the publishing of the chainsaw beheading by the Syrian rebels propaganda team. They claim that this atrocity was committed by people behind President Bashar al-Assad. The video stirred major outrage in the ranks of the sheeple, but it didn't fool anyone on Gore because we knew where the video is really from. It's been on Gore since before the Syrian fraudulent revolution started, and we have its full version, including the original audio, and we know it's from Mexico. It was the same thing when Gore busted the rebels about the publishing of the domestic gas leak explosion, which they also manipulated into looking like the aftermath of alleged indiscriminate bombings by the rulers. Or more recently, when the whole world was ribbing about Muslims being slaughtered by Buddhists in Burma, the propaganda fooled everyone, except us on Gore, because we recognized the lynching video from Kenya, the earthquake in Tibet, and the tsunami disaster in Thailand, which had been used in unrelated context." End of quote. Marek also said that he had received testimonies from readers stating that viewing the images on his site had convinced them to avoid things like speeding, darting between traffic on motorcycle, horseplay with forklifts, and even committing suicide, and that the government itself recognized the utility of shocking images by requiring them on cigarette packaging. And this is a very good point being made. I remember one time in school when they held a lecture, I was probably around 16, 17, they had a person come in to share the story about how their child died due to a motorcycle accident. And in the auditorium, they had a big picture displayed for everyone that was listening of a different person who had been cut in half by that same kind of accident. When someone crashes, flies off their bike, and has their body cut in half by it wrapping around a steel pole. I still remember sitting there in that auditorium, looking at the upper body and the lower body completely separated, opened up, and there was just red inside. And put simply, I just had no idea that human beings were that squishy, that it's so easy for the most gruesome thing imaginable to happen. You wouldn't even know how fragile the human body is and how far accidents can be taken if it weren't for testimonies like this and footage that really illustrates the true reality, along naturally with how easy it is. So personally, as a lifelong nerd, I find it quite sad how the internet went from this metaphysical wild, wild west of creative weirdos expressing themselves, and now it's Donald Trump getting banned from Facebook and Twitter. And the only thing being recommended on YouTube nowadays are cooking channels and Jimmy Kimmel. Everything else is off limits because, family-friendly, puritanical horseshit. Put simply, it sucks that even the internet got corporatized, and as a result, we all got dumber. Again. Oh well, at least I can still watch crazyshit.com. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching this far, and a big thanks to everyone supporting my channel. You are the #1 reason I can keep doing this and have been able to do this for so many years. And given the current climate, your support is more important now than ever before. So make sure you sign up for my newsletter, as YouTube notifications don't work properly anymore. And please follow me on my other social media backups as well, in case anything would happen to this channel. All links and information can be found in the video description, just check there, and I'll see you again next week. Sincerely, your friendly neighborhood foreigner.